welcome to the Summer Medi podcast. Great to have you again. This week we've got a very special guest, someone I've known for about 20 years, or it feels like 20 years. This guy has had experience as personal trainers, running a gym, app development in tech, running a large fitness company from a sales perspective, and now he's the CEO of one of the largest fitness equipment suppliers in the world. His name is Gerard Healy. Welcome, mate.
Hey, Pete. How are you?
Good? Good intro?
Yeah, great answer.
Cool, man. Mate, as I get started on these things, you've known me a long time, so we'll try to keep it appropriate as possible so I don't get blocked, but we'll crack some jokes in there and talk about maybe a little bit of personal stuff, but tell us a bit about yourself, mate, not where you are now, but maybe a bit in the past and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, it's funny. We always talk about what's our why.
Yep.
I'm a helper. I love helping people.
Yep.
That's the core essence of what I do every day, whether it's in my personal life or work life professionally.
Yep.
I just love helping people. And I've worked in the health and fitness industry for the best part of 20 years.
Yeah.
Had some great experiences in various parts of the sector.
Yep.
I've owned health clubs. I've worked for a franchisor. For a gym chain in Australia. Right now, running one of the largest fitness equipment businesses in Australia, working with a lot of different brands, which is super exciting. That's also a global business. So done some different things across the year, but essentially been in the health and fitness industry.
Nice, mate. When I first met you, we started off obviously with you on your beginning app. And I always tell people that as one of the main reasons I started losing my hair at pace. It was very stressful. But during that time, we got to the first thing I learned about you was you used to run a gym at Maidstone. Just want to talk a little bit about what you're doing back then. And I guess you're pretty young too back then. Like what it was like to run a business at your age then, dealing with maybe shared ownership, dealing with recruitment, or just anything you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So started off in the health and fitness industry as a personal trainer. Out in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. Moved to CBD, started working for a gym on St Kilda Road, bought some equity share into that gym, and then through the course of 1 to 2 years had the opportunity to go into partnership in a larger site out in the western suburbs of Melbourne, out in Maidstone. Set up a pre-sale of that gym with a business partner. Things didn't go to plan. We can talk about that a little bit later. But through those experiences, ended up in partnership with some really great mentors. And we were able to take that gym from a pre-sale that didn't go great to within 2 years, we were able to build that facility up with over 3,000 members. We had over 25 personal trainers working at that facility, and we were running some really strong community 6 and 8 week body transformation challenges. We had some great outcomes of that, not only for the individuals in those challenges, but for the personal trainers as well. And then some years later, sold shares out of that gym, went to work for the franchisor for Genesis Fitness, and we were able to replicate those challenges. And I guess through that, we looked at like how do we enhance that to scale. Social media, mobile apps were the rage. They were starting to come into play there. I think that was probably 2012, 2013, 2014. Yeah. So we had a great idea with how do we build an app to drive those challenges, and I think that's where our relationship started.
It is, mate. I think that it would say 35 trainers. What is it like to manage a gym, and then what is it like to manage just a large group of PTs? I know I've had good and bad experiences with PTs. I think my expectations are from yourself and a few other people at that time. I was sort of here. And my expectations are brought down here just to keep a bit calmer when you're talking to them. But how do you deal with such a large group of PTs? Yeah,
it's funny. I think in many workplaces that I've been in, those different experiences, probably the common trait is that when you're dealing with a large range of people, it's sort of like a classroom. So you'll have your A-grade students at the front, you'll have your kids at the back of the class that muck around a bit, and the ones that misbehave. I guess it's about managing all those different personalities and making sure you can get the best out of them, but also having really good screening processes to make sure that you got people with the right trades and the right values that match what you're trying to do.
And do you, even just now, I think, what's your view on personal training now? I was talking to a guest a few weeks ago about it, but from back then, say 2012, let's call it 15 years, has much actually changed in that area?
I think massively. You go back 15 years ago, the RTO sector was getting massive government funding. You think about AIF, I think they had millions of dollars of advertising their budget. Every TV ad that you'd see, every bus that would go past, it was do a personal training course in 12 weeks and become qualified. And that sort of aligned to where the fitness industry was at that stage, because people would go through those courses, becoming rental personal trainers, setting up their own businesses within many health clubs across Australia. And it became the norm. People saw that on television. People went, when I go to a gym, I think I need to have a personal trainer. So that was a really thriving component of the fitness industry, I think 10, 15 years ago. We look at where we are today. I think that's sort of been superseded by group training. I think there's many great sort of group training models out there in market, and I think a lot of those people that were personal trainers have migrated into that group training model. So I don't think the volume of personal trainers are there in gyms as what there was once upon a time.
But 35 is a lot, man. For one gym.
Yeah, but you got to think about the amount of people becoming qualified in the industry too, right? And looking for jobs and that change of industry. So that really probably drove the need in market. What we were really good at was being able to nurture those people, invest in training, and then make sure that we had sales processes that when people were joining our health clubs, that personal training was a great solution and being able to help them build their businesses.
Yeah, I think back then those government handouts are killing the industry. I mean, the way that it's pumping students out, 6, 12-week programs. I'm an expert with PT, and I think it's that's when we built the professional development tool, Advance. Back then, and that's I guess what you took to turn into the bigger app, which we'll talk to it shortly. When you exited that, talk about your experience of co-owning a location, like a big business, like 3,000 members is really significant. It's a lot of money, especially when you're young.
Absolutely.
Talk about the ownership side of things.
Yeah. Oh, well, probably went in a little bit blind, right? And you learn from experiences. So basically took all the money that I had when I was young, borrowed some money off my parents and invested into a gym, which seemed great because, when you're in your 20s, you have this vision, I'd love to own a health club, but you really don't understand business at that stage for a lot of people. And then you get into the realities of business, and there's consequences when, businesses aren't run the way they're supposed to be. So I probably went through an experience with a business partner that I thought things were going great. And then we went into a second facility. And then when you roll out and reality set in, when you're going to equipment suppliers and you're asking to loan large amounts of money, and then you go, okay, cool, this is what a business really requires, right? So had a situation there with a business partnership that broke off, and as I said earlier, was lucky that I had some good mentors that had identified that I had a passion for the industry, but probably needed a little bit more direction and mentoring. And something that really sticks with me to this day was that they took me out for lunch and they said, okay, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to have 100% of something that makes nothing? Or would you prefer to have 20% of something that could make over $1 million a year?
Nice.
Yeah, and that was probably the start of a lot of learnings that I got over the several years past that. And like I said, through that guidance, I really learned how to actually run a business properly. Yeah. Something I'm very thankful for, but something that gave me passion and drive today, that I love helping people. And, there was a point in time where I needed help and guidance. And now to have the opportunity to impart that to other people, it's something I'm really passionate about.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've always been a really good problem solver. That's something we noticed really early, I think. So as you transition into Genesis, and then you had high success doing challenges and around whether it's weight loss, muscle gain, whatever the goals are, then you come to us with an idea to build this app, your new beginning. And even for me, that was probably my first business lesson in terms of tech, in terms of not saying yes to everything. It's okay to say no, but we still got it done. And it was still but mate, so you had way back then your challenges. You knew what we did with our professional development tool at the time, and then you help us evolve it into a beast of a challenge tool. Mate, talk about that. And obviously you've got no fear and you're happy to take a risk. So talk to us about that mentality.
Yeah, well, I've always thought very macro, right? Gone, okay, what would work? What would be the epitome of what you're trying to achieve? So once you've got that, then work out how all the dominoes fall after that, right? So for me, it was about on multiple layers, how do we help all different sectors of the business we were working with? At the core of it were the consumers, right? So how do we make a challenge that helps them achieve the goals that they're looking to achieve.
Yeah.
The next layer from there, the people driving that were personal trainers, many of them running their own businesses in facilities. Okay, so how do we make that appealing? How do we make that a tool to help them build their businesses? How do we give them the guidance to connect with their clientele in the right way to build long-term relationships to make sure they've got sustainable businesses? And then when in the midst of that, you're dealing with individual franchise outlets and they're trying to attract personal trainers to make sure that they're looking after their members within their facilities and to help them profitable. And then amongst that, working for a franchisor business, right? And to make that successful, you need to have tools that make your brand appealing. So needing to make all those things work on multiple levels, like that's really important and having that commonality and theme. But again, it comes all back to how do you help people on each of those individual levels and get alignment, right? So on a macro level, it sounds simple, but I think we had some learnings along the way with actually making that materialise, working with tech.
I think the idea, very logical. It's just about limitations come from the tech itself. Yeah. So it wasn't about, obviously we can do it. We did it. Your CEO, I think, may or may not be the current CEO at the time, came in and had a good talk to us at the end of it because blowouts and a few things. But I think the really good thing about that was it was a really holistic solution in that, and even to this day at the time when we were working with you back then, we worked with you guys on that, had Digital Stack in some beta early days with Snap at the time. And we had these two things running where James and I looking at each other going, what the fuck are we doing? Like there wasn't any late nights. There was no nights all day. I was just getting it done 7 days a week. Like he's trying to start a family and do all his thing with his missus and stuff. Back at the time, it destroyed a few relationships, but all for the better now. But I think that process end to end, even at stages where there may have been doubt, where do you get your mindset just going, you know what, F it, let's just push through this thing and get it done. Yeah. So where did that come from in you? Because it's very consistent across all the areas that we've known you at.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, you got to find solutions to get things done, right? Yeah. For me, like it probably comes back to the core DNA of some of my first jobs that I had. Yeah. So, you know, I worked with some people you don't really think of it at the time, but like 15, I worked at a local butcher shop in the Yarra Valley, and just the work ethic of like those butchers and, you know, 15 years old on a Saturday morning having to be at work at 6 a.m. and it's cold and it's oppressive, but like, you know, their personality, their energy, their can-do attitude, you know, it was infectious. And like, you know, when you put into that environment as a 15-year-old, it's like, well, you know, there's only one way, and it's like, get the job done.
Yeah. You know? Isn't it funny how it translates all that way through? It's so true. I think that, I don't know, I wish that, I'm not saying the kids today don't, you know, aren't cracked across the back or the hands like we used to, but definitely a harder work ethic, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's working hard and working smart. You sort of managed to do both of those. Going from PT, multiple gym ownership, you obviously get a love for tech. That was really clear when we first met you. When you go into a brand that's sort of established, you know, like Genesis, part of a larger group under a single ownership, but then you're dealing with, you know, multiple franchisees, multiple personalities at head office. When you went to that quote unquote corporate job, tell us about your first, you know, experiences out at Bayswater.
Yeah.
What it was like to actually go and sit in an office, not in a gym. You're sitting in four walls, desk, different.
Well, it's a different world, right? Yeah, I was in the world of business ownership. Yeah. And I probably had a couple of lives there. Worked with a corporate club on St Kilda Road. Yeah. Got some good experiences from that. Then went out to the suburbs.
That was a Genesis, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
originally, skinny one.
Yeah, originally it was a business called Fitness HQ, which rebranded to Genesis
That's
Fitness.
Right. I still remember where it is, man. Just from going,
Yeah. So, so had some really great experiences and learning there. Really learnt about business at Genesis Maidstone, and then through circumstances, nothing's forever. Had the opportunity to exit out of the business, and had some people say, "Hey, you've got some great experiences." Genesis Fitness at the time had some exponential growth, but I think that they'd identified that there was sort of some gaps and some restructure that needed to occur. And they were looking for some people with some fresh ideas into network and, you know, potentially been in business ownership that could come in and walk the mile in the shoes of, you know, the other franchisees. So took that opportunity to go work there. But, that environment was was totally different to go from a gym that has hundreds of members through it every day and personal trainers and high energy and music to a corporate office out in the suburbs. Yeah, a little bit different. I mean, the great thing about it though was that with that job, you're on the road a fair bit, so there was a good mix with being out in the network.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a massive change to be working in an office and that office type environment every day with accountants and IT workers and for someone who's worked in the fitness industry.
Do you like or hate it?
It was different. It was different. Yeah, I don't think there was a like or a hate.
Yep.
I've always been about learning and getting different experiences and growing. So I think if you look at the positives of it, like you get the perspective of other workers and, what their days look like. And, I think out in the coalface every day, you just see the outcomes, but to actually see what people go through with the systems and the processes to achieve the outcomes, it gives you a different sense of, what it takes.
I don't know if this is a controversial question or not. Obviously, as we're both big fans of UFC and fighting and stuff, and there's a big thing about commentators. Should you have to have been a fighter before you can commentate or comment on an actual fight itself, right? With franchising, do you think you need to be a franchisee or work at a location before you graduate and go and work at a head office for a brand? Or do you think it's okay to come in from the outside and offer fresh perspectives?
I don't necessarily think that it's required, but it definitely helps.
Yeah.
It definitely helps. Like, and I think on a multitude of different levels, I think to feel the experiences of what, franchisees are potentially going through, like it can make it easier to connect.
Yeah.
And also in circumstances, it can make it easier for problem solving. But some of the most brilliant people that I've worked with in franchising sectors have come from the outside because, they've got different experiences that they bring in and sometimes you need that mix of different people from different backgrounds to sometimes create change, push through barriers and to, create the biggest and best next things.
Yeah, I remember talking to, I won't say which brand it was, but a marketing guy come in, very senior guy, come from a big apparel brand. And the first time I'd met him, grilling us over some of our stuff and just the way he was speaking, I'm like, this guy will not last in franchising. And he asked me if he's got any questions, if I had any questions for him. And I said, do you think you'll last you 3 months? And the way his look on his face was just in shock. He lasted 2 months. He wasn't removed. Just because he didn't understand that he's not dealing with all a single brand with everyone with the same feelings and the same lifestyles. He had individual, unique people that were under the same umbrella. They're very, very different business owners. And he struggled. Talk about that sort of thing, but when you're at a head office and how did you deal with that? I know you had some guys up, near Newcastle and stuff are quite, well off and doing really, really well. But then you had people that may have been struggling down in even the outer suburbs of Melbourne. How did you find that balance when you're trying to meet the needs of all of them as a network?
I think in franchising, one of the most difficult things you can do is get alignment, right? So, and that's what franchising is about. Yep. Franchising is about system. It's about process.
Yeah.
And you have different people who come into franchising from different backgrounds and different experiences.
Yep.
Some people will come into franchising because they've never been in that industry before and they need the guidance, they need the structure.
Yep.
Some people will come in because financially that works for them. But then sometimes you'll have people that they've got different businesses in different sectors and they're just trying to build their portfolio. So those people will come in and, they'll have different views on how things should be ran. Again, I talked about that classroom mentality with personal trainers, no different in franchising. Like I think you talk to a lot of different franchising networks, they probably say the same.
Yeah, 100%. There's very, very consistent in terms of the people that are with them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What when you think about your time at Genesis, obviously good brand in Australia, you're doing well, still doing well today. Very clever at, sort of bringing yourself back in and going again, which I think is really admirable the way they did that. What are some of the highlights that you had during that time there? You sort of there for a bit, went away, come back again.
Yeah.
What are the things that stand out for you?
Yeah. Well, I go right back. Genesis at Ringwood was one of the first gyms I ever joined and trained at. So
awesome.
I knew it from my childhood or my teenage years because I used to train at Genesis Ringwood. Yeah. Right back before I got into personal training. So it was a brand that I knew and I sort of had recognised from that point.
Awesome.
And then the experiences were were unbelievable, like in a number of different ways. To have the opportunity to enter into business, like coming back in reflection now, the learnings that I got through that process, and at that point in time, at their head offices, they had some great people that are still in the industry working at different brands. Some people still working at Genesis at that point in time, but then to go in and work at their corporate head office and help through a significant period there, and to be able to help develop systems, processes, programs, the way their facilities are structured, and on reflection now, seeing some of those in play, and they're having some great success. Like it's a brand that I take away, great memories from.
Awesome.
It's a large Australian business, but at the core essence, it's a family business, and their values are really,
mate, that's awesome.
Love. Yeah.
What what was your first role outside of Genesis when you left? Because I know you did two things. I'm forgetting something because you went and come back.
Yeah. So, well, I basically worked for two different companies in my corporate life. One with Belgravia Health and Leisure Group, predominantly with Genesis Fitness. But the first time I went to go work for Matrix Fitness. So,
got you.
So I worked with Matrix Fitness.
So you went out in. Gotcha.
Yeah. So yin and yang between the both. So,
Cool.
So I had some friends that were in the Belgravia network that had reached out to me with an opportunity, and sort of been in that health and fitness sector for many years. But probably been in clubs. And to have an opportunity to do something in a different vertical of the sector was really appealing to me. So 2019, I left Genesis Fitness and moved across to Matrix. So went across there as the head of sales. Worked there through the COVID period. Really interesting sort of time in the market, the industry, the world. And did 3 years there. Really, enjoyed my time there, but had the opportunity to come back home with a different assignment with Belgravia. So I went back there, did a couple of years as a general manager of projects. So they were expanding their franchise portfolio, and was able to go back and help support them with some of their brands that were growing and emerging at the time.
Awesome.
And then as a B, the predecessor who I'd worked under at Matrix Fitness retired. So then had the opportunity to go back and lead that company.
That's awesome. When you went back and you're the GM at projects, like, one of the most stressful things, especially in health and fitness or any franchise, is the opening. Getting the facility right, doing all the compliance checks, getting everyone on board, making sure all the suppliers are aligned up, making sure it's getting managed properly, it's to budget, it's on time, marketing getting rolled out beside it, making sure it launches properly. Mate, talk about that, the stresses and the good thing, because you've done it a lot. So
I think there's one thing you can't beat. It's experience. And probably really lucky, not to say specialised, but the longer you work in an industry, the more experiences that you get. So that sort of helps you, moving forward. Those 3 years that going to Matrix Fitness initially probably played a core role to be able to go back. One of the great things going to work with somewhere like Matrix, they're the largest equipment supplier of most of the national brands out there in the network. So you get to see sort of some of the best systems, some of the best processes, some of the ways that things are tackled, in projects like it's equipment fitness supply, but essentially you're doing that in the back end of fit out projects. So to take some of those learnings and things that I'd seen and been able to come back and help sort of structure and put some systems in play. That really helped. But at the end of the day, project management is nothing ever goes exactly to plan.
Project management was never, when I first got to the workforce, my brother had a tech company. I think I was 15, I wanted work experience. And he goes, what do you want to be called? And he goes, I'll just be a project manager. It's nothing. And I'm like, oh, okay. In tech, it's like that. Then you look at how important the role of project management is. It breaks or makes businesses from the outset. It has to get right at the beginning. But what advice would you have for someone that's looking to get into a franchise they're about to go, or they've invested in it, already got the go ahead, and they're about to open their first location? What advice would you have for the franchisee, the owner of the location?
Oh, look, I think most franchises, you're in them for a decade. What you do in the first year will dictate the next 9.
Wow.
So, the way that you invest your money and the way you manage your money with the setup of your say facility or that type of business structure, like that's critical. And then if we're talking the fitness sector, like that pre-sale period is crucial. Yeah. I think the fitness industry, most people go into the fitness industry because they don't like sales.
Yeah.
I remember a very good boss said to me once upon a time, you work in a direct sales industry, you just sell one of the best products in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, making sure that, you know your pre-sales and you have those systems and processes in place. And that's where I think these franchise businesses that are out there in Australia, they do a great job.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what brand it is, but if you're in that franchise space, it's listening to those people in those positions at the franchise or head office, because that system and process will work every time.
Yeah, that's true. Deb, I think that comment about the sales is correct. When people go out and say, we're selling gym memberships, we're selling community. No, you're not. You're just selling memberships to create the community, that end vision, that's the end outcome of it all. Yeah. If you don't get sales, there's no community.
Yeah, well, you're selling the greatest thing in the world. You're saving people's lives. You're selling longevity.
Yeah. You've been traveling a lot lately. I think you're on every second panel I see at conferences, doesn't matter to you, US or wherever. What are you noticing, mate, just in general, in the market at the moment, in the broader industry, in your conversations with people, what's happening around the world? It sounds like everything's booming and going faster than ever at the moment. So what are you seeing when you're traveling around?
The fitness industry is growing.
Yeah.
I think it's ever growing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to stop. The next generation of people are spending more money on health, fitness, wellness and well-being than any generation before. And I don't think that's going to change any time in the future. The way people are connecting with health and fitness may be changing slightly.
Yeah.
But, commercial health club facilities, whatever format they're in, I think more and more people know that, being connected to a health club, it's positive for their health.
Yeah.
And, that's not changing.
Physically and mentally.
Absolutely.
One thing that really does concern me and a lot is the impacts of the lockdowns, especially here in Melbourne, shit ass. But there's this weird feeling before and after that. And the younger generation are definitely not a drinking generation, not like we were when we were back in the 20s and stuff. And I heard, we'll talk about earlier about Scott Galloway or Galloway, whatever his name is, on a podcast recently. He said, if you're 25, go out with your mates, have a drink, get in trouble, you live, you can handle it. And all he was saying was, don't forget to socialise and be connected. I feel that when these younger kids are going into, say, some of the bigger brand gyms, they're still a bit nervous, and then maybe they're not really connecting. Like we walk up to someone and say good day and tap them on the shoulder, have a chat. They haven't been in an environment like that ever. And so I think of brands like, say, Planet and the more approachable brands, they say, hey, come in and just give it a go and stuff like that. But what do you think gyms can be doing more to bring that next generation through, not just to participate in the class, but just to be actually connecting and hanging out, when they maybe leaving the gym, actually make some genuine friends?
Well, I think they're doing it in all different ways, shapes and forms that probably attract different sectors of the market. But I'd say gyms in 2025 are probably the nightclub of 2005. Yeah, you talk about that next generation.
What a statement.
You think 20 years ago, people would go and socialise at a pub, a club, a nightclub and go out with their friends.
Yep.
And as you said, this generation are probably doing less of that.
Yep.
They're more probably connecting on mobile apps with people. But then just that general social connection, they're finding that in health clubs. Yeah. You look at the group training sector, I think the success of that's been driven on the community element.
Yeah.
People go there for that connection.
Yeah.
And I think health clubs are doing a better and better job of making community hubs within their facilities.
Mate, agreed. Yeah, that statement's true. I think, the group fitness, why, back when I first met you, F45 was just taking off. I had a couple of locations. It was about to, and they were genius the way they territory mapped and created that sense of urgency. And they were the big first boom going in. But why do you think that's taken off faster in Australia than the US? Because in my travels and stuff, they're sort of getting up now. But I felt like even though they're bigger, they're always behind the Aussies in getting up. Why do you think it took off so big in Australia and took the US so long to get going on it?
I'll go back to what I said earlier. It's that sense of community.
Yeah.
I think Australians are big on that sort of community factor and hanging and socialising together.
Yeah.
And I think that type of workout format probably connected to Australians from a workout perspective, but further to that, the community perspective. I think regardless of the brand, I think that's what's really attracted people. And I think a lot of those brands have done great jobs of being able to scale their businesses. That's
incredible. Yeah. It's huge. It is good to see in the US too. It's finally taking off, but it's getting mass traction across all states, which is cool. Yeah. Mate, so you went going from the corporate and experience. Going into your latest role at Matrix Johnson Health Tech, you're not just doing one brand, you've got multiple brands in there. I've had the privilege of walking through your facilities multiple times. It's pretty incredible the way you've got it set up. Going into that role, what are some of the first things that you did as a CEO going into, are you group CEO, I think, or is it Matrix CEO? What's your official title?
Well, it's managing director.
Okay,
so
cool.
it's a global company, publicly listed.
Yeah.
So
do you want to talk a bit about that too? Because mate, I was fascinated watching your wall in one of your boardrooms. I couldn't believe
it's an amazing story.
Yeah, can you just share a bit about it?
Yeah. Oh, look. So Johnson Health Tech turned 50 in October this year. It was founded by Peter Lowe. So Peter was a teacher in Taiwan.
Yep.
Teaching to poor students. Again, I love that synergy of him being a helper.
Yep.
Bought a parcel of land, had a shed, makeshift foundry in the backyard. Started by building fluorescent light globes, but wanted to build something bigger and better.
Oh, wow.
He travelled to the United States. It's funny, every time I hear the story, there's another bit that's added to it. But the latest variant of the story is he got a Los Angeles Yellow Pages. He came back and started writing letters to various companies on the west coast of the United States. Avanco Barbells came back and said, could you build some barbells and dumbbells and weight plates for us? He said, yeah, sure, but you'll need to draw me a picture and let's see what they are. So that was the birth of Johnson.
Yep.
And for many years, Peter with his wife Cindy and first employee Jean, who still works in the business today.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, which is
amazing,
totally unbelievable. They started by building weight plates and then went into parts and components for various fitness equipment for different providers, and then we're building fitness equipment for different providers. And then in the 90s, they said, you know what, we should be building our own brands.
Wow.
So that birthed 3 brands, Vision, Horizon, and then Matrix Fitness, which were taken to the United States. And over the best part of the last 25 years of that business, they've grown to be the largest commercial fitness equipment supplier.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that story. I mean, talk about humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Having an employee for 50 years, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So we head to Taiwan in January. We have a group meeting every year. So our calendar year runs from January to December. We have a group meeting in January each year. So we have the 50-year anniversary celebrations in Taiwan, which will be really special.
Oh,
but yeah,
man,
so it's an amazing business that's been grown over a long period of time.
Yep.
So we have subsidiaries in various parts of the world. So I run the subsidiary business unit for Australia and New Zealand, overseeing those brands.
Awesome. Yep. What's so you're dealing with Matrix? Obviously, we've seen all the different brands. We work with so many gyms, and mate, what makes the one thing I've noticed with the Matrix gear, and not a sales pitch or anything like that, but it's so bloody robust. And I'm a heavy dude. I feel like a small person on it. Like, can really handle my weight and it's used, but I'm not saying when did you officially buy into it, but when did you, because you're very genuine and very sincere, but talk about the brand itself and the quality of the gear. I mean, for me personally, more than anything else, like what's the process to get it to that?
Yeah. I mean, take a step back, like you talk about being genuine.
Yeah.
For me, the values of the business met what my values were. So it's a family business. It's global, but their values of sharing and family and community really sit with what my values are.
Awesome.
When you talk about the robustness of the equipment, one of the unique things about the company that I loved from the outset, it's a vertically integrated company. So I talked about Peter's beginnings.
Yeah.
The business manufactures all its own parts and components to make the equipment, which is something that's really genuine and unique. So we have 7 manufacturing plants in 5 different countries, and when we get the opportunity to take some of our customers to those plants to see that in play, it's awesome. It blows people's minds.
So it is real. It's obviously the end product is the outcome of what the company's been built on for the last 50 years. Yeah, it's incredible.
Absolutely. Which gives us a couple of competitive advantages. So 1, we control our own quality. 2, our speed to market.
Yeah.
Yep. And 3, being able to customize and scale and help our customers grow.
What was that fancy? The fancy tradies and stuff for the high-end hotels and that. What's that one called?
Yeah, Onyx. So it's one of our new luxury ranges that's come to market.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So the features, the qualities, the finishes on it, and then some of the next level tech. It's got a concierge service on it, so that can connect in where people can click on their treadmill and request services like bottled water or a towel, and that connects into the staff. Like it takes that service level to the next level.
Very nice. Yeah. Looks cool. Mate, and how I've been to the offices, really well set up. This is like a random question, but one thing that threw me off is the logistics of your business and your team watching the truck drivers move around and stuff like that. I haven't been to all the providers and stuff, but when you walk in, it's very unified the way your office is set up. Can you talk a little bit about that from a tech point of view? Just obviously what we do, being a bit of a tech nerd and stuff like that, and working a franchise as a distributed workforce. So how did that come about? How do you get that set up? And obviously, or how effective is it with your truck drivers everywhere, major warehouse? Talk about that party business and making sure you can get things out quickly.
Well, it's funny, the synergies with franchising to the business I work in today. So it's a global business. Yep. With subsidiaries in each area of the world, but our systems and processes are aligned and they're the same. Yeah. So a business of that scale and size doesn't get there without great systems and processes and standard operating procedures. That business is driven through Dynamics 365, SAP integration, and I think people would really underestimate what happens in the back end of a fitness equipment business. To be able to materialise to bring your equipment to a club. And I think it'd be no different to any supplier out there in the market. We're lucky that the business has grown exponentially in Australia across the past 15 years. So 3-4 years ago, we made a capital investment to build a purpose-built facility at an innovation park in Dandenong South. So we've been in that facility 2 years, but that has given us the ability with a purpose-built 7,000 square metre footprint to be able to run those processes seamlessly to ensure that we continue to give that level of quality service and customer experience as we scale and grow.
Nice. Love it. Speaking of customer service, it's part of every single business, and you going in a new role. Sorry, I keep saying new. In your current role, how long have you been there now?
2 years.
Oh, fuck, sorry. Your current role. How have you set up your customer service team? Because you've got so many verticals to hit. So how did you go in and set that up?
Yeah, again, it's there's systems and processes in play globally. But locally, we talked about it before. With the mobile app and sitting there and going, okay, here's the big broad macro vision. We need to materialize that. For me, it's making sure that we know what the receptionist at any, say, health club at 5 o'clock on a Monday evening is going through, and making sure that we can resolve their problems as quickly as possible. So that's the core essence of what we do and work back from there. We've scaled up double, nearly triple the headcount in our customer service teams. We've invested in technology, so new vans for our service technicians out in the road, the GPS tracked. We've got TVs in our call centre that can see where they are in live time, so customer service issues will come in. One will identify through our systems what the issue may be, be able to get parts dispatched, but in live time we can see where our technicians are to work out the quickest methodology to get parts to our technicians. But also with our new technician vans, they're set up with our top 200 parts in van too, so we can call them, might be around the corner. Again, it's all about reducing that downtime for our customers.
Awesome. One of the things I touched on earlier before we started recording was one thing I like about you the most, obviously you're a good guy with mates, but it's your business ethics. You very much remind me to some other people in the industry I've met recently, and I don't know, the health fitness industry had a stigma, back in the early days. Oh, yeah, this guy's a good guy, but a bit dodgy, and this and that. Not for any other reason, but people didn't know about what happened behind the scenes. But obviously, your business values and ethics in the right place. When you come in, how did you reset the sales approach, or how do you approach the sales approach with such honesty, without bagging out your competitors and all that sort of stuff? You're just sort of very much a straight shooter when you're going into those negotiations.
Yeah. Oh, look, at the end of the day, there can be so many words, but it's about actions, right? Everyone that's in this industry, it's a small industry, they're here because they're passionate about it. They want to do good things. So we're no different. But for me, it's about making sure that we act upon what we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's super important. And people remember those things. I know people that I'll connect in with various facets of this industry, or even outside of this industry, right? Like your past experiences will dictate, your future choices with what you do. So for me, I want to make sure that, I do what I say I'm going to do. And if I'm leading a company, that we lead with those same values.
Yeah. Awesome. I think, how competitive is the equipment space at the moment in the fitness space?
It's super competitive. Super competitive. The industry's growing exponentially, and I think we talk about gyms. It's not just gyms. Like fitness equipment's in so many different places. Hotels and hospitality sector, apartment complexes, schools, universities, hospitals. The list could go on and on and on and on. Right. So there's enough out there for everybody. But at the same time, of course, it's super competitive. It's like any industry. Yeah,
that's definitely a most people just hear about it too. Yeah. But there's a lot more when you start looking into it. Yeah. What have you got planned for 26? Anything that stands out, anything new that's coming in, or how are you sort of tackling the increased competitiveness we just touched on?
Yeah, look, it's twofold. For me, consistency is everything. Yeah. So this is my third year in the role, and I've taken over a great business, right? But as you said, businesses continue to grow. They continue to evolve. For me, the most important thing is have consistency. Yeah, I think that's the number one thing our customers look for. So for me, it's about how do we continue to scale and grow, but also keep that consistency primarily for our customers. Yeah, but then internally, there's a lot behind the scenes that makes that happen. Yeah. So leveling up our staff, internal training, support, professional development, and then bringing additional people into our business to help us as we grow and scale. For me, they're the areas that I focus in and look in on, and just concentrate on how we make sure we are the best at our business, and everything will take care of itself from there.
Nice. Makes sense. Nice and clean.
Yeah.
Mate, we just touched on the last sort of 15 years of your life, 20 years. There's a lot to jam back in, but also I know you got a lovely daughter, a teenage daughter. So how have you managed to balance being a dad and a professional side by side through all those years? Yeah,
well, concurrently, my daughter Mia, so turning 16 in March. Damn. She was born right on the opening of that second gym that I had.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's been there the whole journey that we've just talked about. It's a balancing act, right? Like it's difficult. There's points in time that you do these roles, you have these responsibilities, you're away traveling, and I know it's no different to a lot of other people in jobs like mine in the industry. So she's had to have that balance of points in time where dad has to be away, but making sure when you've got that time that you're totally dedicated and you can switch off from your work because family's everything. And we make sure that we spend great quality time together, doing things away from work. But it's also been really cool at points in time too to have her in and have her involved. And I've always made sure that if there's been projects we've done that she's there in a Genesis Fitness top back in the day, or Matrix Polo, and taking her to the clubs or showing her experiences, but everything we've talked about, she's lived, seen, and breathed it. You probably do a podcast with her, and she'd probably give her perspective of it. But very thankful to share those opportunities. With her. Well, opportunity is probably not the right word, but but to share those experiences and hopefully some of that she's seen and can help her in some way, shape, or form along her journey.
That's awesome.
She gets into working life in the coming years.
I just want to quickly touch on the conferences and stuff like that too, mate. With networking, obviously the biggest component of that. Yeah, connecting with people, and do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I love meeting people. Love learning about people.
Yeah,
love learning about not just their businesses, but connecting with different leaders and understanding their leadership styles or how they've been able to develop or grow or transform a business. Like, I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome. Yeah. Mate, thanks for answering all the questions. Mate, before we wrap up, is there anything you want to share that's coming up next year, 2026, whether it's professionally or personally?
Oh, professionally? Look, I always love being on that conference circuit.
Yep.
So HFA, Expo in San Diego this coming year.
Yep.
Matrix Fitness, we've always got some great, exciting launches. So I know there's some really cool stuff that's going to be coming up there, but that will be sort of shared in the new year, and
Nice.
look forward to connecting to all our friends and partners over there, and then over to FIBO in Cologne, Germany in April.
Busy.
I love that time of year. Hopefully get a little bit of a holiday in after one of those events too.
Very nice, mate. Well, mate, thanks for stopping by. Really great to talk to you.
Thanks, Pete.
Catch up soon.
Will do.